Reporting to the media this week at Post-Executive Council Media Briefing is the Secretary of Community Development and Culture, Councillor Dr. Denise Sawyer-Fat Angus, and the Secretary of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, Assemblyman Huey Cadet.
Black History Month, this month of November, has been quite an exciting and packed month for the division. In fact, we would have distributed over 1,000 certificates to graduates this month of November, emanating from our multiple programs over the past 9 months in the division. We felt that there was no better way to celebrate our Black history more than by celebrating our progress today. And so the number of programs we would have had included the vocational training program, which is an ongoing program, but for this year we have far exceeded what we would normally have in terms of the number of graduates. We had 250 persons graduating from across 16 different classes that we would have taught in the area of vocational skills. This year we would have added a capacity building workshop, and this is about strengthening our organizations, village councils, NGOs to be able to seek grant funding and then to be able to manage those capital funds and the human resources in order to grow their organizations. In the cultural arena, attention was given to preserving the arts in the pan, calypso writing, specialized drumming areas, including but not limited to the tambu bamboo and the tambourine, and of course the oral arts and amongst other areas. In fact, I was quite heartened to know that about 15 tourists who are here on the island from France, they apparently play pan in France, and they too were certified as part of the pan workshop that we would have had. Further to that, in collaboration with the Queen's Hall Board, persons also had the opportunity to train in the technical areas in support of the industry. Obviously, all of this will augur well in providing the human resource needed for operating the soon-to-be-opened Shaw Park complex. As such, I would like to really thank my administrator, staff, and the tutors who were involved in all of the training programs that we have had over the last year, and to say that without them giving of their time, that we would not have been able to continue the development of our people in this way. The Tobago Heroes Awards that was supposed to take place at the end of this month will be postponed until January. This award program is a new initiative of the division that will seek to recognize the significant contributions of Tobagonians in the preservation of our culture and development of our communities, and by extension, Tobago's development. Observance of Black History Month this year was also expanded to include visits to primary schools using a dance drama approach to transferring historical reflections of our past. This year we started with 2 schools, and hopefully next year we can expand that program. I want to place on public record my heartfelt thanks and deepest appreciation for the presentation of the pan instrument to me by the president of Pan Trinbago, Mr. Keith Diaz, and the chairman of the Tobago chapter, Mrs. Mary Toby. This presentation was made at the Caribs Dixieland Black History Month that celebrated both pan and calypso as the way we used to know it. And so I say thanks to them again for that presentation. The division is extremely proud that after the many challenges that we have had, we were able to surmount them in order to commission the New Hampden Lowlands Oskinskio Multipurpose Center that occurred last Thursday. There was an overwhelming turnout of the community members to receive the center that has about a 300 capacity seating with 14 computer stations, and several smaller meeting rooms and offices. It was encouraging that the members of the community have wholeheartedly committed to working with us in order to optimize the use of all that, of the spaces within the facility. Of course, as much as we do, there's a lot still left to do. And so the new year presents the opportunity for us to forge ahead with new programs in old spaces. And this year we will focus on continuing our empowerment and strengthening of potential sectors that are untapped. For example, we'll be focusing on the expansion of the Tobago Museum. Discussions are taking place in respect of looking for an additional home or a new expanded home for the museum. As we continue to grow the tourism product on the island, the Tobago Museum has become one of our main points of attraction over the years, and therefore they do need the space to expand, and so we are looking at areas to ensure that that can happen. In fact, on the recent cabinet visit to Tobago, I would have discussed with the Minister of National Diversity, Dr. Roger Samuel, the presentation to Tobago of a copy of the records of Tobago's slaves. To date, we do not have a copy of those records of our roots, and it is timely for us to have physical possession of our past on this island. So we will continue to work towards making that happen and ensure that there is a safe space within the museum that they can be held. Another area of focus will be on our seamstresses and connecting them to designers in our spaces and graphic artists in maximizing on the opportunities at the crossroads of fashion and commerce. This is a totally untapped area for us, and we intend to pursue this over the next year to ensure that our persons on the island within that industry have all of the resources available to them to improve on their craft and to be able to maximize on opportunities that may be available to them outside of the island. So a 2-day seminar is already being planned for them. We are just looking for a space, perhaps right after Carnival. And another similar session in networking the recording artists with studios and other relevant industry stakeholders to realize the potential of the island is also being planned. Upcoming this weekend, again, the launch of the next Tobago Star, in keeping with that thrust of developing young artists in that area. The next Tobago Star is a collaboration that would have been launched last year with SW Limited, where we provide for the audition here in Tobago, the Division of Community Development and Culture. And subsequent to that, 2 artists will be chosen who will be then mentored by Sherwin Winchester and be given the resources, all the resources available to them in Trinidad that he is volunteering on his side. In collaboration with my colleague here from the Division of Education, Youth Affairs and Sport, we will be continuing the 2nd annual distribution of gifts of joy to the children throughout the schools on the island, and also further this year to show appreciation for those who care for them. I also want to draw reference to the fact that this year the Division of Community Development and Culture will be foregoing its Sports and Family Day, but instead we have chosen to have a family fiesta time, given this period of Christmas coming on. And so on Friday, 1 p.m., we will be having our novelty games. And towards the evening, we will have a tree lighting ceremony, parang, Christmas carols, and all of the exciting things that go along with the welcoming Christmas into our space. We will be collaborating with the community of Calder Hall and also all of our village council persons and representatives from our cultural groups. Again, it is about family, friends, and fun. And therefore, we're inviting all members of the public to come and join us and be a part of the exciting occasion welcoming Christmas into our space. Having said that, I would like to wish all persons out there a safe and a joyous Christmas, and of course, a prosperous and healthy New Year.
I want to begin, of course, with an update on Scarborough RC. Of course, we are pleased to announce and advise that our school would have resumed on Monday, 24th November, which was Monday gone. Of course, the division, as expressed earlier, was obviously deeply saddened by this incident that took place last week, Tuesday. The commencement of classes on Monday would have taken place and followed on a series of new security measures being implemented at the school, which included CCTV cameras, the fencing of both the schools, the top school and the bottom school, and of course the installation of round-the-clock security services. In addition to that, within the school themselves, they have also implemented a number of measures with regards to access and how the school will operate in conjunction with services held by the church. We, of course, in the division continue to provide support and counseling, both for the family and the student directly involved in the incident, and of course teachers and other students who may have been witness or who would have been traumatized by this incident. In keeping, of course, with the wider security arrangements across our schools, we would have undertaken a review of an assessment was undertaken at schools across the nation in conjunction with the Ministry of Education. And this assessment spoke to the physical security risk of all schools. The information and the assessment involved the review of perimeter fencing, lighting, access and egress points, and of course the number of security personnel located at these schools. And we have received a draft of this report, which we are currently analyzing, and we're hoping in the coming days to have a presentation done by the personnel from the Ministry of Education with regards to the findings of this report. In going forward, though, and in the interim, what we continue to do at our schools is, one, we will be looking at all the schools currently that has the varying levels of security. Some schools currently have security around the clock, some have during the day, some only have during the night. We will first look at the assessment to determine the level of risk in terms of increasing the security personnel at our schools. Of course, in the coming weeks and months, we will roll out the CCTV camera at other locations in the same manner that we did at Scarborough RC. At our secondary schools, we currently have CCTV cameras at all our secondary schools. Additionally, we have held discussions with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Tobago Division with a review to restarting a program, an initiative that existed some time ago, where officers were assigned to each school with regards to interfacing with matters involving discipline or in general safety issues. So that we are in discussions with the Tobago Division with regards to resuming that program and that initiative and ensuring that it will work effectively. We are also, of course, we have safety officers at our secondary schools. We recognize that as part of that general assessment, there's a need to review how those safety officers operate and how that lends itself to the primary schools. In conjunction with TEMA, we have also recognized there's a need to review our larger emergency and crisis plans that are effective at all our schools to ensure that all our schools have muster points, they have particular protocols that define how they operate in the event of different kinds of emergencies or crisis. All right. I also want to speak to another matter concerning, of course, the recent death of Ms. Akisha Crandon from Mason Hall secondary high school who would have died while participating in the annual cross country. We, of course, in the division, once again express our profound sadness and sympathies to the family and, of course, the friends of Akisha. We would have provided counseling, and we continue to provide counseling for the families, just as we did in the matter at Scarborough RC for the families involved. Additionally, this week marks 1 year since another student from Pentecostal Light and Life would have died while participating in their cross country. And our continued prayers go out to the family of this student and, of course, the students and members of staff at Light and Life. We would have immediately asked Signal Hill Senior Secondary School to postpone their cross country, which was to be held, I think, about two weeks ago, so that we can treat with putting some strategies in place immediately. Those immediate strategies include, one, we have begun discussions with the Division of Health and Social Services and the TRHA, where we will be providing for those schools that have their cross country prior to the closing of school for Christmas. We have a screening process for those persons who want to participate in this cross country. This screening is mandatory to ensure that they get medical clearance to participate in the cross country prior to participation. So that is what we're going to be putting in place to treat with cross country that takes place prior to the closure of school. In going forward, we're also in discussing with the division and the TRHA a long-term screening process for our athletes and our students in general that allows to ensure that their participation not only in cross-country but all athletic disciplines, that they are medically cleared for participation in physical activities within the school environment. Additionally, as it relates to the cross-country and to participation in those events of this nature, we recognize there are two other elements that must be addressed. One, which has to do with race management on the actual day. We have recommended, and we've instituted a policy where, in terms of the actual start and commencement of the race, that the race begins with those athletes who are the seasoned and more trained athletes who are constantly involved in athletic activity, and the last group of runners who will begin the race are those who are interested in participation and gaining points at their houses. And therefore, there will be a staggered start depending on the level of persons' involvement in physical activity across the school year. This is something that happens in other jurisdictions related to the participation of the differently abled persons who participate in for the sake of participation, the competitive athletes. Even for international marathons, this is something that happens, and we will be instituting that as part of the cross-country process and those distance events. Additionally, in conjunction with the Division of Health, we also have to touch on the issue of the energy drinks. We realize there's a growing trend of our athletes prior to the athletic event consuming cocktails of energy drink, Monster and Battery and Shark all together, with a hope that this will inspire them to have sterling and improved performances. We've recognized that this of course, the evidence suggests that this increases the heart rate to the point where it could cause that it can become fatal. And therefore, we will be engaging in a campaign in conjunction with the Division of Health and the TRHA to remind our athletes in general, that the danger of these power drinks if consumed in large quantities. All right, I just want to provide an update on the early childhood care and education sector. The division, of course, is at this point in time working on a MOU that will be signed between the division and the Ministry of Education to allow for the complete transfer of the management and supervision and oversight of early childhood care and education in Tobago to the Division of Education and Youth Affairs and Sport. Currently, there's still a level of involvement by the ministry in terms of the payment of teachers and some direction with regards to supervision. But in terms of the maintenance that currently falls under the division. So in order to bring that to make that transfer for the seamless management. We are currently working on an MOU that will be signed between the division and the ministry to allow for the total transfer of this process. As part of this entire transfer exercise, though, the division has begun establishing the necessary frameworks to ensure that we can best manage the operations of the ECC, and we have begun that by hiring 2 coordinators. These coordinators have begun an exercise, an evaluation exercise, and a data collection exercise. The data collection exercise has begun with our 16 government and government-assisted and serve-all centers ECC, and it will involve, of course, the number of teachers, number of students, identify the use of technology, identify the different curriculum involved, the teaching methods. We have also undertaken an evaluation of the infrastructural needs of the varying school centers to determine what kind of work may be required with regards to repairs and infrastructure. We've also done an assessment with regards to ICT and the school feeding needs, and also in terms of furniture and other equipment. So this assessment is ongoing. We have also begun a rationalization exercise with regards to the terms and conditions of the early childhood staff. Unfortunately, for quite a number of years, there has been a disparity between the staff at the ECC in Tobago and those in Trinidad. And largely that was as a result of a rationalization exercise was done at the national level, and the same was not done in Tobago. We are doing that exercise as we speak. What it will involve really is looking at all the persons involved employed within the early childhood centers, match up against the new structure, and that will allow us then to ensure that in going forward we can provide for those teachers and staff and administrators within the centers improve terms and conditions. We are hoping that we can have the targeted proposed time frame for completion of this exercise is by the end of this calendar year, which is December 2014. We're hoping that very early in January that we would have a consultation involving stakeholders with regards to the entire early childhood sector and this new initiative being proposed at the national level having to do with universal early childhood education and the purchase of places within the private centers. That exercise and that consultation will allow us to determine the relevance of, well, of course, well, let me say it differently. While, of course, in the division and the assembly, we are in support of universal early childhood access for all our children. Currently, we have to determine whether the number of places that currently exist in the government and the government-assisted can meet the demand, if the demand is greater, and therefore there's a need in Tobago to purchase places at the private centers. And of course, in the coming months, we will also have to do an evaluation of the private and registration of the private ECC centers to ensure that they come up to the necessary standard, to ensure that there is a seamless level of standards of curriculum and training and teaching provided to all our children, whether they go to the government-assisted, or the private ECC centers. I want to provide an update on the Dwight York Stadium. The OSHA did an inspection of the stadium in July and October of this year, and they deemed the stadium as unfit for public use. A prohibition order was issued in October based on several factors. The 4 main areas of concern were major leaks to the roof, plumbing problems, electrical problems, and structural damages. We have been informed by the sports company that works are currently underway to deal with those matters that can be done, those works like the plumbing that can be treated now. In terms of the structural issues, they indicated that there's a need for a re-inspection to be done and an engineering report to be done, and that information will then be provided to us and OSHA with regards to the reopening of this Dwight York Stadium. We, of course, in the Tobago House Assembly and in the division are very concerned about the level of attention and being given to the Dwight York Stadium, and of course the fact that we do not have access to them at this point in time, especially in keeping with the fact that in the next month and a half the track and field season open. We have spent a little over $14 million on a state-of-the-art track at the Dwight York Stadium, and we are therefore very concerned that there's a need from the ministry and the sports company to give the kind of attention to the Dwight York Stadium being the only facility of its nature in the island, unlike at the national level where there are a number of stadia. And therefore we feel that the sports company, there's a need to give it that kind of attention that is important. I mean, if we are aware of the history, these issues are not new ones. As a matter of fact, what was supposed to have happened is that while an assessment was supposed to have been undertaken by the sports company, and we had agreed that when this assessment was completed, the repairs to the field and the main facility would be undertaken, and this would have allowed the work on the track to be begun and to be completed. Unfortunately, the sports company was not able to in time address the issue of the structure and the field, and we were able, of course, to bring in the track prior to those works being undertaken. We are hoping that more than hoping, we have indicated to the sports company that there's a need to identify what remedial works can be undertaken now that will allow public access as quickly as possible to the Dwight York Stadium, as it relates particularly to use of the track at the stadium. I want to just close on two bits of extending congratulations to our primary school footballers, St. Andrews Anglican girls team, Montgomery Government boys under 15 and Wim Anglican boys under 11, who all three placed second in their respective categories at the Atlantic LNG National Finals that was held at the Larry Gomes Stadium last week, Thursday. Obviously, we are happy that for the first time for any district would have had teams in all age group finals, but we were a bit disappointed as to the fact that we were not able to win all or any of the titles. But we want to extend congratulations to the teams, to the members of staff, the various coaches who would have been instrumental in getting their teams to this level. Of course, the division will continue through its Sports and Education Unit to support the efforts of our coaches and our schools in participation in these kinds of sporting activities. We don't see this as extracurricular anymore. We see the sporting activity as a key part of the curriculum in teaching discipline and all kinds of social skills, and of course opportunities for different kinds of career opportunities, and of course the discipline as it impacts on academic performance. So we want to extend, of course, sincere congratulations to all three teams and the three schools involved. We would also want to extend congratulations to Blackwell Government Primary, who once again would have been the Tobago District winner for the National World Championship. They would have won in 2013 and again won in 2014. Unfortunately, this year they could not get past the quarterfinals, but we want to extend congratulations to the principal, staff, teachers, and parents who were involved in again in allowing the school to reach to this level. The last matter that I have is just an update in terms of the laptop distribution, of course, to first formers. At this point in time, 2 schools have received laptops thus far, which is Mission Hall Secondary and Harmons SDA High School.
Thank you for tuning in to another Tobago House of Assembly's Post-Executive Council media briefing for the week ending November 29th, 2014.